One of the most commonly used dual weapon setups is the dual katana. I haven't used any build quite like this in about 3 years now, and having used a build with 2 great swords as of late, it was time to revisit the setup and put my own unique spin on it. Overall, everything went well, but if you were to do a build like this, I would change a couple things around, as through the uniqueness, there was a bit of an issue with status buildup. We'll get into the specifics later. First, which weapons to use. Instead of using the Uchigatana or the Nagakiba, or even something like Rivers of Blood or Moonveil, I wanted to stray away from the typical blood loss buildup. So I used 2 katanas that don't have the status effect innately, the Dragon Scale Blade and the Serpent Bone Blade. The Dragon Scale Blade doesn't have any status effect on it, except through the Ash of War, imbuing Ice Lightning on your katana. Next, in the offhand, the Serpent Bone Blade does not have bleed, but deadly poison buildup. And for this weapon, I always kept it in my offhand. This gives us the dual katana moveset. Our standard L1 chain is a series of dual katana swipes that hit with both weapons, and therefore make it a very nice series of moves for building successive attack power. But the highlight, as you probably could have guessed, is the jumping attack. I used the Claw Talisman and the Gravebird Black Quill Armor for 2 boosts to the jumping attacks, making them very, very effective. Luckily for us, this is Elden Ring, and many boss moves can be avoided simply by jumping. Jump, press L1, and while avoiding damage, you will score a hit on the boss. In addition to this, you can always use the one-handed moveset for that Dragon Scale Blade. The R1s are quick, and the charged and running R2s are thrusting attacks. These attacks come out fast and have great range. Both of these katanas have unchangeable Ashes of War, and because we are using the Dragon Scale Blade in the right hand, we will be using its Ash, Ice Lightning Sword. Tap L2 to execute a move that is identical animation-wise to Lightning Slash, and power up your sword in a 3-part attack. A Stomp, a Sword Slam, and, if you're in water, an expanding circle of Ice Lightning. For a time now, you will have said Ice Lightning on your sword and be able to inflict Frostbite buildup. That's where the issue comes in on this build. We have Frost in one hand and Deadly Poison in the other. Thing is, when you dual wield weapons, the total status damage is reduced. So, while there were a few times I did inflict Frostbite on the enemy, I did use one-handed moves every once in a while, and of course the Ash of War. I don't think I inflicted Deadly Poison on any boss, save for like Nile at the very end, because the Deadly Poison in the left-hand weapon was so reduced. This was also a Max New Game Plus run, where bosses have greater status resist. So with a hard-hitting, successive attack power build and increased status resistance, the weapon in my left might as well have had no status buildup at all. So if I were to redo this run, I would either use 2 Dragon Scale Blades, 2 Serpent Bone Blades, or use either of these weapons in my main hand, with like a Nagakiba or Uchigatana infused with Poison or Frost in the left. I'm still happy with the build, both weapons scaled well with dex, and my jumping attack power was to be celebrated, but it could have easily been better. For spells, I used good old Golden Vow. That increases our damage by 15% and damage negation by 10%, along with Flame Grant Me Strength, increasing our physical damage by 20% and our stamina regeneration. This was more important than usual, as I did not run the 2-headed Turtle Talisman on this build. To start every fight, you want to chug your flask with the Thorny Crack tier in it, use Golden Vow, Ice Lightning Sword, and Flame Grant Me Strength. Then get in there and spam jumping attacks. This ups your successive attack power insanely quick, and through that, you can either end the bosses quickly, or take out a huge chunk of health right at the beginning. As I mentioned earlier, use that one-handed moveset for small attack windows. Otherwise, jumping lets you avoid many attacks. So if you can't spam the L1 attack chain or the rolling attacks, use those jump attacks. One thing I tried to focus on this build even more than usual is playing locked off. There was no particular reason for this. This build isn't amazing locked off, but it was rather fun to run around bosses and enemies alike. So I recommend you try this playstyle as well. The question I gotta ask this week is, if you gotta dual wield katanas, which 2 will you be power stancing? Will you go with 2 of the same, such as 2 Uchis or Nakakibas or one of each? Something weird like what I did in this run? Or perhaps a more famous combination, like a Frost Uchi Katana and Rivers of Blood in the offhand. Let me know what you would do or have done down below. And as always, this video is sponsored by my dark fantasy novel, Follow the Gleam, linked down below, audiobook coming soon. And for more Souls-like and build videos like this every single Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, be sure to like and subscribe to TheJerseySide. Our talismans for the build were the Claw Talisman for better jump attacks, Millicent's Prosthesis and the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia for more dexterity and successive attack power, and the Dragon Crest Great Shield for 20% physical damage negation, as this build ended up being quite tanky. Our tiers for the run were either the Bloodsucking Crack tier for 20% more damage at the cost of health drain, or the Opaline Hard tier for 15% more all damage negation. For armor, I used the Circlet of Light, the Gravebird Black Quill armor set, and Solitude armor for the Greaves and Gauntlets. This got our poise all the way up to 58, past the PvE breaking point. Our stats at RL 170 were 60 Vigor, 15 Mind, 44 Endurance, 75 Dexterity, that was bumped up to 80 with Millicent's Prosthesis, and 25 Faith. To use Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength. You don't really need that much endurance on this build, but I would rather have it there than in a stat where it's barely gonna scale like strength. As I said earlier, this build could have been optimized more in the status department, yet it operated as intended for successive attack power buildup. Using dual katanas felt weird at first, but it got me through the game with not much of any issues. Unfortunately, I always show Promise Consort Radahn at the very end unless there's some sort of exception. I almost messed up at the end of this fight twice, but saved the run and was able to beat him first try per usual. Of course, baby game, you know? So yeah, sorry about the footage here. I nearly fumbled the bag twice at the end of this fight. We have a lot here happening on the channel soon. Try This Y is still coming out soon. Mortal Shell 2 is going to be dropping this month, so I will be playing that. And if I find a fun build for it, or enough to say to put into a video, I will release something regarding that game. There's a Remnant 2 video that's been on the back burner forever that I've been feeling the impetus build up within me to resurrect. And I've been playing a bit of AI Limit as of late, so I don't know if I'm gonna make another video on that game. We'll see what happens. And finally, I'm about to finish my first playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3. That's gonna be fun. See you all next week.